Hello! It's been a while, hasn't it? Apologies for being so quiet on this channel recently. I've been off and about on various merry adventures. But as we're coming towards the end of the year, I thought what better than to do what everyone else seems to be doing at the moment and talk about some of my favourite games of the past 12 months. In a kinda list format, maybe a top 5 games of the year or something. In fact, exactly that. Intro! Now a few quick disclaimers before we start. This top 5 list only includes games that I've actually played this year. I'm sure Splatoon is a work of genius, but I haven't got a Wii U, so what can I do? Also, this list doesn't include any remasters of old games from previous years, despite the fact I've played more Dark Souls 2 Squadron of the First Sin than most throughout the last 12 months. And finally, this is not a definitive list, but simply a personal top 5 of the games I enjoyed and spent the most time with this year. It's totally cool and fine to have your own opinions that differ from mine, and we don't need to start arguing and shouting about it in the comments. Cool? Okay, great. Let's get started. A top 5 game to the year's list in the 2010s wouldn't be complete without a hipster indie game, and this list is no exception. Undertale was released on Steam in September by a single developer, Tony Fox, in which you play as a human who has descended to an underworld full of monsters, banished underneath the earth following defeats in a war against humanity. But nothing is as it seems, or indeed as you'd expect it to be. And as you progress through its rich lands, your expectations become ever more subverted as the rich, diverse and fantastically well-written collection of characters compel and surprise you in new and exciting ways. Add to that a rich, intuitive and intelligent combat system, which takes the typical turn-based RPG elements and uses them in unique and interesting ways, and you have a game full of charm, heart, humour and a genuine sense of uniqueness only few games can profess. It's only a few quid. Go on, go treat yourself.
Clothes.
Treat yourself.
Fragrances.
Treat yourself.
Massages.
Treat yourself.
Mimosas.
Treat yourself.
Fine leather goods.
Treat yourself.
It's the best day of the year.
The best day of the year!
Now I've already covered some of my views on Bloodborne in a previous video earlier this year, and my opinions of the game haven't necessarily changed. However, Bloodborne takes the number 4 spot because it's the most interesting, intriguing and fascinating game world we've seen over the past 12 months. The beautiful Gothic architecture and stunning buildings of Yharnam evoke a reimagining of Victorian London, and the fascinating creatures and beasts that prowl amongst it are some of the most interesting and well-conceived enemies in video games. And the further down this rabbit hole you go, the more subversive and fascinating it becomes. I won't spoil too much, but if you haven't got out of Yharnam yet, do everything you can to do so. You won't regret it. The combat is as visceral, dynamic and intelligent as we've come to expect from a game by From Software, with the addition of speed and manoeuvrability adding another dimension to what we know from the Souls series. The RPG elements are deep and allow you to play in multiple ways, again like we've come to expect. Okay, it's another stellar From Software game, and if you own a PS4, you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to pick it up, and discover what it holds within, and learn how to die with dignity. Oh, for f***'s sake, this pile of shit off. Go on, get out.
The sun's never died. Can't wash the blood on my hands.
I've been a Metal Gear Solid fan ever since I played the first game on my dad's computer in 1998. From generation after generation, I've been held captive by the grand narrative, intelligent and revolutionary gameplay, fascinating cast of characters, and sheer total madness that each game pertains. I mean, what's going on here? And here? And here? Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is another extraordinary addition to arguably the most consistently brilliant franchise in gaming history, and a fitting end to Hideo Kojima's involvement in his creation. To understand what truly sets this game apart from the rest of the series is actually quite difficult to do. You see, the true revolution the game offers is how it's probably one of the best examples of emergent gameplay we've ever seen. But what is emergent gameplay, I hear you ask in my mind? Well, it's the idea that you're able to solve complex problems with interesting and novel solutions. In other words, It rewards you for thinking outside the box. Pinned down and need an escape? Use explosives in the other direction to distract guards before making a run for it. Helicopter getting in your way? Try extracting a crate full of resources directly into it. Need to stop a car with an important person in it? Why not make a horse shit in the road? The more the game challenges you, the more it also rewards you for finding novel solutions to these new problems. Never has a game so perfectly executed this sort of gameplay as the Phantom Pain does, and that's why it makes the number 3 spot here. Of all the amazing games that have come out in the last year, I've played more Rocket League than anything else, which is even more remarkable considering I picked it up completely free from PS Plus back in July. I love sports games. I've played more FIFA than I care to admit. But as an example of how to execute a sports game, it's pretty much perfect. Every single element of the way the game is designed has been thought through and delivered phenomenally. Now let me explain what I mean by that. On the surface, Rocket League seems a very simple game. Up to 4 cars per team, a ball in the middle of an arena, 2 goals. Get the ball in the other team's goal. Simple. Except to execute that, so many different factors need to be considered, thought through, designed, redesigned and tested before you can put the game out for general release. The speed of the cars, how they handle, how they impact on the ball, the arena and each other, how big the ball is, how heavy it is, how it's affected by gravity and player impact, how big the arena is and how big the goals are, how the power-ups are delivered and where they're placed on the ground, and so much more besides. It's like a house of cards. If one card is out of place, the whole tower comes tumbling down. And Rocket League's tower is up perfectly. Quite honestly, The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest video games ever made. Now I know that's quite a big statement to make, but here's why. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on the surface looks like your typical fantasy RPG, and in many ways you'd be right to think that. You play as Geralt, a witcher, basically a monster hunter, on a mission to find Ciri, the girl he's protected and looked after from a young age, who's on the run from the aforementioned Wild Hunt. As you set off across the vast and bewildering lands, you discover typical fantasy settings, including swamplands, cities, and snow-topped islands. Along the way, you battle various creatures and monsters, meet the locals, collect quests, and follow stories to their conclusions, levelling up your character and enhancing your skills as you go. All just as you'd expect from your typical RPG. So why is it so special? Because all of these things that it tries to do, it does them better than anything else out there. The world the team at CD Projekt Red have built is as beautiful and carefully crafted as any fantasy open world you've ever visited, and you will forever want to explore further and see what new discoveries lurk within its lands. The cast of characters are expertly animated, beautifully written and fantastically well voice acted, and the stories that they have to tell are enjoyable, interesting, and lead you in exciting new directions at every turn. Side questing never feels like a chore or a tick list, but simply another treat the game is offering to you. And the main questline that overarches all of this is a brilliantly written storyline that delivers on every level. Then there's the rich, visceral and smart combat, where the victor is not always the one who attacks first and attacks most. Getting the balance right between physical attacks, spells, using potions, your toxicity level, and the attacks on the opponent is a constant balancing act, but one that always keeps you thinking. And the feeling of getting it right is unrivaled in games of its type. And that's only the start of it. There's the wonderful art and sound design, the brilliantly consistent programming that brings the world and its characters to life, whilst keeping glitches down to a minimum. Then there's the company who made it, a team a fifth of the size of those who make typical AAA games like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, and whose DLC plan and continued commitment to fans is unrivaled in the AAA sector. The list goes on and on and on. But ultimately, why I say it's one of the greatest games ever made, and my personal favourite game of this year, is that whilst playing all the other games in this list, and plenty more besides, and we, by the way, have had one of the most amazing years we've ever had in the gaming community, The Witcher 3 has been the one game I've kept wanting to go back to. Kept wanting to explore, kept wanting to find new enemies, encounter new characters, get new quests, explore more about the world, and learn more about its secrets. The Witcher 3 is quite simply an astonishing achievement. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts, or tweet me at MTH Simpson and let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next year.